Good morning everybody, hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe. It's Tuesday the 28th of April. It's a little chillier in Florida this morning. We had a bit of a cold front last night. It's about 61 degrees at the moment. Today's news is going to be all about testing. A ton of information about testing came out of the White House yesterday. So today we're going to be looking at US daily cases, better news, Florida daily cases, astounding news if it's true. The White House spoke about a blueprint for testing and how testing has progressed so far. Also confirmation that CVS will be doing tests in their pharmacies in Florida. Great news. We need a ton more testing, and I'll talk about that. Increased testing in underserved areas. I mentioned that in one of the videos last week, so that's been addressed this week. Governor DeSantis still remains non-committal on a reopening date. Mayor Jerry Demings did talk a little bit about reopening, but did say he was going to be following Governor DeSantis' plans. And then finally, Legoland Florida could be going bust, so I'll be looking at that a little bit as well. So that's the news headlines. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll get this every day or most days without thinking about it. It'll just pop up, so please do subscribe. Okay, let's get to the news. Daily cases in the US yesterday was 23,196, which is the lowest since March the 30th. Recorded cases in Florida yesterday was 109, which is the lowest since March the 20th, if correct. It doesn't look right to me, but I'll let you know tomorrow. President Trump resumed his White House briefings yesterday after a 2-day hiatus. The briefing lasted a little more than an hour and was all about testing. A number of senior executives from pharmaceutical and testing companies took the podium and talked about how an increase in testing was going to be made available. Also in yesterday's White House briefing, the blueprint for testing plans and rapid response programs was unveiled. This is a guideline for states, cities and counties to follow. It details the responsibility of federal, states and local government in testing. It also talks about expanding the number of tests and of turning those tests around quickly in laboratories. It asks that states develop rapid response programs that enable quick isolation and contact tracing for anyone testing positive, which will help to contain outbreaks of the virus. I'm not going to go through all the slides, but if you want to, then please just stop the video and have a look. Also yesterday, the White House presented an 8-part plan on opening up America again through testing. It provided a timeline of testing abilities and activities up to today. Again, I'm not going to go through each slide, but please stop the video. Health experts are saying that Florida needs 150 tests per 100,000 residents every day, or 1.5% of the population every day. There are 21.5 million people in Florida, so that means 32,250 tests per day. Currently it's around 10,000. As I mentioned yesterday, Florida pharmacies are now going to be able to offer COVID-19 tests, and this should help enormously in trying to bridge the gap between the 10,000 tests we've got now and the 32,000 tests we need per day. I mentioned last week about areas which are currently underserved potentially being hotspots for the virus. 32822 is just north of Orlando International Airport, and 32824 is between Florida's Turnpike and Orlando International Airport to the southeast. In Governor Ron DeSantis' briefing from yesterday, he was again non-committal on the exact date when the reopening of Florida would occur, but he did say that areas outside of Miami, where the greatest number of cases are, would reopen in a different timescale. Florida's stay-at-home order is due to expire on April the 30th, so Governor DeSantis only has 2 days to decide whether he's going to extend that stay-at-home order or let it lapse. Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings spoke yesterday also and said he's unable to provide an exact date for the reopening of Orange County and that he'd follow directives from the governor's office. He was asked about a timeline for reopening restaurants, salons and other businesses, and he said he hoped to know more by Friday. That's the day after the executive order is scheduled to expire, unless it's extended by Governor Ron DeSantis. Mayor Demings also said that starting today, Orange County's Economic Recovery Task Force will meet daily to devise guidelines for business owners to keep employees and customers safe when they're allowed to resume operations. Finally, and not widely reported, is UK theme park operator Merlin Entertainments could go into liquidation. A report which outlines Legoland Florida staying closed until mid-July 2020 and then taking another 5 months before revenue returns to 90% of its pre-pandemic levels would cause a cash crisis in the third quarter of 2020. Okay, better news on the number of new cases in the US yesterday. So we do seem to be hopefully now on a bit of a decline. I hope that's now a steady decline rather than a spike and down, a spike and down. The Florida cases, I'm not sure I believe. they just seem way too low to be credible. So I'll see if that gets adjusted today, and I'll talk about it tomorrow. The White House now coming out with just pretty much an hour's worth of execs talking about what they're doing in the fight against the virus and how testing is going to be better and quicker, and then the timeline of 0 to now unveiled by the White House as well. Just it makes me feel a lot better, to be honest. I'm hoping that this gets rolled out really quickly, and that we just do a lot more testing, because that's the only way we're going to defeat the virus, is just by constant testing. So the increased capacity in underserved areas, again, I'm hoping that they find a hotspot, they deal with it, they find another one, they deal with it, and it'll go on like that until we're pretty much eradicated. But that's only going to happen. We're only going to stay safe if people do what they're told to do. So I hope through the reopening that people do that. They don't just go back to their daily lives. We've got to find out very soon what's happening with the reopening. It's the 28th today. Our stay-at-home order lapses on the 30th. So Ron DeSantis really tomorrow or latest Thursday has to tell us what he's going to do. Is he going to extend it, or is he going to partially reopen? If he's going to reopen, what's he going to reopen? My guess is it's going to be small restaurants, or all restaurants, Starbucks, places like that, and maybe smaller shops. That would be my hope. At least you can practice social distancing in those places, and it would mean that some businesses at least next week would get back to business and people could start being employed again. That's my hope anyway. Mayor Deming's pretty much non-committal, same as Ron DeSantis. First time I've actually heard him say that he's going to follow the plan set out by Ron DeSantis. I thought he might actually be a little bit slower than that, but he's talking about potentially shops getting back to business as well. So all good positive news there. So the only downside today, I think, is this possibility of Legoland Florida going bust. I mean, that's terrible news. Merlin operate a ton of theme parks throughout the world. They're second in size only to Disney. So if they went bust, it would be terrible all around the place. Now, I don't know how affiliated each company is to each company. I don't know if there's a parent company and then like the American business is hived off. So even if Merlin UK went bust, would Merlin US or Legoland Florida still survive? So I'm going to try and find out more about that. But it was interesting, that timeline, July. Their worst case scenario was opening in July, and then a 90% capacity getting back by the end of the year. I mean, that seems crazy to me, that being a worst case scenario. You would have thought that you won't get to 90% until there's a vaccine available. So I really don't know what's going to happen with Legoland Florida, but there we go. So that is the news today, and my take on the news today. Positive, actually. Feeling a little bit better today. So stick with it. Stick around for tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, take care. Stay safe. See you then. Bye-bye.